Good morning, Wednesday, February 19th. It's actually even snowing in Nashville today now.
Oh, boy.
We're really getting for it. Today we're talking about tariffs again. Hyundai and Kia getting the incentive for their EV credits. And it's all not so rosy with BYD in China. Consumers have an opinion in China, too.
They got lots of opinions, actually. I feel like I told Nathan this morning as we were prepping the show, I was like, I don't know. I thought Americans were persnickety about their car things, but apparently
thousands in a day or two. Yeah,
over there.
It's pretty. Yeah. It's
Paul. Like, I have something to show you. You ready for this?
Snowball.
You ready?
No? Okay. What are those? Your Asodu-kan colored Pumas? Did you design those? Those are nice.
No. These were native. These were like already there. It's like close to the tan of our backgrounds. It's got the blue and orange. Like like I can't wait to throw this up next to the scarf.
Dang!
Come on now.
You're gonna be all kitted out. That's amazing.
I said I need a new colorway of the "Love People More Than You Love Cars" shirt, like a little orange, a little orange and blue.
Just go all the way. We can do that. We could do that. We can make.
I mean, we did just do green, so the sky's the limit.
Yeah,
no. Yeah. You did green. You had to talk about the Eagles this week, didn't we? It didn't,
I know.
You said it, not me.
But the ratio is significantly lower.
Yeah.
Actually, that reminds me. I have to check in on those jerseys I shipped out. I haven't heard. I'm sure they've been delivered.
Yes.
I gotta figure that out because
from some people.
Brandis Drummer from NCM and Danny Zaslowski from VinQ owe me an Eagles fight song in an Eagles jersey.
Come on.
It's time to call that back up. We have an Asodu Edge webinar today. So if you haven't registered, it's time to register by going to asodu.com, scrolling down. It's our 30-minute quick shot webinar series. We have Matt Murray of Wide Whale talking about reputation management benchmarks, strategies, how dealers are leveraging AI in 2025. Like, this is one of those cool things where they're like, we looked at 8.whatever million Google reviews, and this is what we learned. So amazing data going to come out in this webinar. If you can't be there in person, you can get the recording, but you have to register. Go to asodu.com, and you're going to walk away with some good stuff.
This whole thing is about turning reviews into proactivity instead of reactivity. And so if you're interested in challenging the way you've done business, this is important.
Has some interesting. It's going to be sharing some interesting data about some large auto groups and some differences and what the customers are saying based on the review. So this is definitely not a lightweight webinar. We got some real data that you've never seen before that will help you make some decisions and hopefully inspire you to do some good things for consumers.
Yeah, exactly.
Asodu-kan tickets. Let's talk about this.
They're ripping.
They're ripping. The hotel rooms are going.
The hotel rooms are really going. I'm telling you, if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, yeah, I think I'm going to Asodu-kan. This is not a like, I'll get my hotel room, 2 days before the event. You're going to be staying at the Holiday Inn, 20 minutes away if you do that. So if you want to be at the hotel, if you want to get the right price tickets, do it now. Make sure we know that you're coming, and we'll make sure you get all prepped and you can get in the app and you can meet some people, talk to some people, figure out what you're going to be doing when you get there.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know. We're going to put the topics list up. So we've released topics this week. We're going to be talking about, of course, AI, also things like fixed ops, sales, global industry dynamics, compliance, company culture, leadership marketing, all the stuff that you would expect there. We're going to talk about multi-rooftop strategy because a lot of small groups are getting bigger. No doubt we're going to have a huge technology community there as well, talking about what's going on in tech. We're going to have keynotes, panels, workshops, podcasts, hallway conversations, dinner conversations, lunch conversations. All the conversations are happening at Asodu-kan.
The only reason why you wouldn't come is because you're afraid of getting better.
Or you're dead.
See there.
No, afraid of getting better. We've started talking about this event like it's so much more than a conference, but like it's easy to say that, but it's like an automotive accelerator. Yes. You're going to come out of this 2 to 3 days and you're going to be ripping. You're going to have one of the coolest things I love about is that we get to watch the people we know from different areas that are great operators meet one another for the first time.
It's so much fun.
And exchange contact information, and you're like, oh yeah, because you meet that one person who's doing the thing that you like want to be better at, and in this industry, everyone just opens the door and opens the books and said like, hey, look at what we're doing.
You know what?
Here's our process. Come visit. Yeah.
I don't think it's actually like, I don't think it's an industry wide thing. I think that there's a particular group of people that are willing to do that. And those people show up at a SoduCon.
That's a great point. It isn't everybody.
We're used to it, feels natural.
That's true.
It maybe not feel normal to you. So if you've wondered, like, is that possible? You can find people where it's possible.
Yeah. And if you show up at a SoduCon, everyone else there is always like, oh, you're one of us.
Yes.
It's like a one of us moment. Yeah. All right. Let's get into some news. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Speaking of the opposite of one of us, President tariffs, right? President Donald Trump has announced that 25% auto tariffs are definitely coming soon, with more details expected April 2nd. I think what he said is, I would have released it on April 1st, but my people said April 2nd because April Fool's Day. The move aims to reshape global trade, but it could drive up vehicle prices and obviously shake up the industry. His cabinet is set to deliver reports on April 1st outlining tariffs on automotives, pharmaceuticals, and semiconductors. Europe currently charges a 10% tariff on U.S. vehicle imports, while the U.S. only charges 2.5% on foreign cars. So a little out of balance there, except for pickups, which already, if we import a pickup from another country, there's already a 25% tariff on that.
Yeah, because you can't mess with our F-150s and Silverados.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
Nope. Trump also set a March 12th start date for 25% tariff on imported steel and aluminum, which could also raise costs for automakers. He's previously announced and delayed tariffs on Mexican and non-energy Canadian imports. This comes from Steve Greenfield. Let's put this graphic up. So Steve says on LinkedIn, he goes, these tariffs put a $240 billion trade route in the crosshairs, with some of the biggest brands in Germany and South Korea most exposed. In this graph, basically it's a list of the biggest importers into the U.S. Volkswagen, 80% of vehicles are imported. Kia, Hyundai, 66%. Mercedes-Benz, 63%. Then you have Renault, BMW, Toyotas, 51% are imported. The bottom of the list is Ford. Ford's still importing 21%.
Right. This is like, you still have GM, Stellantis, and Ford on this list of imports. So they're not just going to be hit by imports, but also by imports on the manufacturing materials down the line. This is why Jim Farley was in DC earlier this week. You know, there's like, we can see some economic benefit to this, a little bit of hedging around U.S. manufacturing, but the world is so flat that, you know, from the old book, like, the world is so flat that you start to recognize how some of this impacts the manufacturers that might, that you might be trying to protect. So I think it's a tiptoe situation that a lot of people are paying attention to. And just note, like, it's not just automotive. You got pharmaceuticals, technology with semiconductors having this as a hot topic item. So, there's plenty of news to pay attention to. I would just say, like, just know you've got customers walking in the door that are probably hearing this news, that are probably asking your sales people, how do you feel about this? So formulating some level of talk track, opinion, conversation way for your people is probably important today.
Absolutely. Speaking of importance, well, I mean, that's a bad segue. It's not really the same thing.
You went for it.
I did. Sometimes you start it and then you think, like, I'll pick it up, right? It's like throwing a Hail Mary pass. Like, somebody's going to catch it and you throw
and then
it.
you just go like this.
Yeah, right. And then we're going to move on. All right, next story. After months of uncertainty, Hyundai and Kia are back on track to qualify for the full $7,500 federal tax credit for EVs. With a brand new U.S.-based battery supply chain, the automakers are positioning themselves for a big year in 2025 as they ramp up production. New models like the 2025 Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 9. Hyundai's Georgia EV plant is going to start mass producing the 2025 Ioniq 5 next month. So SK Battery America, SKBA, will supply the batteries made in the U.S., meeting the requirements for the program. The Bartnell County battery plant is going to produce enough batteries for, get this, 200,000 EVs annually, and obviously cut shipping times.
Yeah, there's efficiency there for sure.
Shipping times, and I'm sure a couple of bucks too when you're making them and driving them instead of flying them or boating them. President Trump's promise to eliminate EV incentives, if reelected, could jeopardize the long-term plans, right? What if there's like, actually, there's no incentive? But until the full tax credit eligibility is restored, Hyundai is still passing the $7,500 credit through leasing making it cheaper, Ioniq 5 cheaper than a RAV4. So they're getting around it by leasing, but they'll, pretty soon be in the game that everybody else is in. They
Yeah,
can
it's
sell it or
interesting
lease it.
how so much of this tax credit got kind of pinned on hey, let's bring manufacturing back to the US, battery stuff back to the US. And now all of these manufacturers have put in battery facilities and have had made local inroads and not imported, and final build processes are done here in the US. You got Hyundai moving a lot of this production into the Georgia EV plant, and now for that tax credit potentially to be negated is kind of an interesting, like, whoop, gotcha.
I know.
So we'll see how it impacts. I still think, the question mark here is how much will it impact the consumer drive toward the EV? Like, is the consumer really impacted by the 7,500? Is that driving a lot of decision making, or is it not driving as much as maybe we think?
Yeah. Look, I can't even imagine what it's like having to make these massive shifts and investments.
Manufacturing, OEMs,
because
hiring.
You literally can't do anything but react to what's going on. And so you have to start moving because you don't know what's going to happen in the next 4 years. I do think, though, manufacturing, the push, the original stated push was to get manufacturing into the US with the EVs and the EV batteries. And that has happened, right? And is still in process of happening. I still think that with all the tariff talk, like, it's still going to be good to be making these in the US. They're not going to be applicable to tariffs. And so I think, like, it'll get you one way or the other way. So I think still manufacturing the batteries in is a good move for the company's long game. However, the short-term reason for doing it was like, well, we need to get this 7,500 tax credit, which they've already worked around with the leasing. So, I don't feel like they're going to lose overall. I think it's good that they're making them here. I think it's good for the country. I also think it's going to dodge the tariffs and, not dodge them, but like go with the initial, stated means of the Inflation Reduction Act and the tariffs is to keep manufacturing and making things in America that Americans use. And so I think it's kind of a win, but boy, is that a hard job they have.
Yeah. Speaking of a hard job.
Segue.
Time.
And customers letting you know it's a bad job.
The PR department right now has quite a hard job over at Chinese automaker BYD, as they are facing a wave of consumer complaints after offering free smart driving features across most of its lineup to new purchasers. Many existing customers, though, feel cheated, believing they overpaid for their vehicles before the upgrades. Over 4,700 complaints were filed on 12365auto.com between February 11th and 17th, up from 150 the
4,700.
That's quick. That's fast. When it was like typically 150 or 500. BYD's Ocean and Dynasty series dominated the platform's top 10 most complained about cars. Basically, buyers are saying, hey, these salespeople who sold me a car a couple weeks before something was coming out, a new upgrade, lied to me. Instead of offering the newer, better equipped model that was going to launch just a few weeks later at literally the exact same price. The company has broadly acknowledged the complaints, but not publicly commented to whether or not they're going to offer some sort of compensation or free upgrades to these others. The Chinese EV market, as we know, has hyper-competitive pricing and rapid model refreshes. And they are mirroring kind of like the feeling around Tesla's 2022 price cuts, which also triggered similar dismay and consumer protests in China. So it seems like everybody wants all the things.
I mean, I think the basic premise of what humans want is transparency and honesty. They don't want to get ripped off. They want to feel like if they're spending their money, they're making a good decision. And I think this is an example where that didn't happen and they should be called out. Hold on. Let me see if this will work. I don't know if it's going to work. How do you say more than cars in Mandarin? Oh, it's not going to say it. Dang it. Oh, wait, hold on. It's asking me which Mandarin I prefer. We'll
you
see.
need a speaker. Put it on speaker.
How do you say more than cars in Mandarin? Here we go. Wait, say that again. That's our recommendation.
That's our recommendation. To all manufacturers, to everyone Our recommendation is make it about so much more than cars.
More than cars. Listen, we hope you have a great day. Don't forget to register for the webinar that's coming up in just a couple of hours. Even if you miss it, you can still get the recording. Go to asodu.com, sign up for it. We'll see you a little bit later today, and we'll definitely see you tomorrow.